Welcome to Sri Lanka, the teardrop of the Indian Ocean. I have been very fortunate to spend around 10 months travelling around this beautiful country, and today we are going to get into everything that you'll need to know to start your journey there. From how to get around, how to stay connected, and just generally how to have an amazing time in this jungle paradise. Now, the first thing that we are going to get into is seasons. When is the best time to visit? So Sri Lanka has 2 seasons, and that means you can visit pretty much year round. The most popular season is going to be between December and March. So that is for the south and west coasts. So if you like surfing, beach days, exploring nature, that's going to be a good time to go. Now, on the other hand, we have between May and September, and that's going to be for the north and east regions. Some of my favourite parts of the country are here, and this, I would say, if you like culture, history, exploring the religion, and still enjoying, amazing nature and beaches, then this is going to be the place to be. While we're on the topic of seasons, I would say that, I've travelled around the south coast during off season and I still had sunshine and beautiful days. If that is the place that you want to go, I wouldn't rule it out just because it's been labelled as off season. I'd say the weather is more unpredictable, but if you want to travel, in the lower season, that will mean it's quieter, less crowds, and things like accommodation are going to be cheaper. Visas, arrival and money exchange. So when you arrive into the country, you will be at CMB Airport, which is about 32 kilometers from the capital city of Colombo. It really depends what you want to do. For example, if you arrive late, you can go to Negombo, which is about 8 kilometers away. I've had both e-visa and visa on arrival. Now, I would recommend e-visa just because it's going to be simpler and you'll get through a little bit quicker. However, visa on arrival was very simple. You see the person at the counter, you pay the money, and everything is done there and then. Okay, once you've got your bags, the next thing is going to be getting some cash. Now, there are ATMs in the airport which you can use, and I would highly recommend to travel with an international card. So Starling, Monzo, something like that. I travelled that way and pretty much just used ATMs throughout the country. Now, if you use a government ATM, there's not going to be a fee. So NSB, People's Bank and Bank of Ceylon. My recommendation would always be accept the transaction without conversion. If you travel with your own currency, as in from your country, you can also go to gold or silver shops around your travels and exchange money there. Next thing is going to be a SIM card, and you can get them right there in the airport. I would recommend getting a Dialog one. Once you have that, once they set you up, download the Dialog app and you can use this for top-ups in the future. Now, data and things like that is very cheap in Sri Lanka. Around 30 gigabytes will cost you under £5. Okay, we are now ready to leave the airport, and that of course means using transportation. Now, my suggestion would be to download the PickMe and Uber apps. And yeah, if you do it before you arrive to Sri Lanka, it's going to be a much easier process. So once you've got the apps, head out of the airport, turn left and walk all the way down, and there is going to be a PickMe and Uber stand. So if you order a car, order it from the app and it will pick you up directly from there. If you order a tuk-tuk, it will pick you up just outside the gates of the airport. Now, the other option you have would of course be to, pre-arrange a pickup. We are now on to accommodation, and I have stayed in many different places across the entire country, and I really believe that it has something for everyone. You can see a bed there, it's got a fan, obviously the mosquito net, and this you can see the real nice view, especially when you're in the pool. If you are like me, a solo traveller, backpacking, then I would suggest anywhere that you go in the world to try a hostel. Whether it's your first time or if you've been before, it's an amazing way to meet people and connect with people. And, people will be there of different ages, cultures, religions, backgrounds, but everyone is there to travel. Everyone is there to experience life. And I've met some of my best friends in these places. I think it's very easy to meet like-minded people here. Yeah, of course, if you meet people that you connect with, you can travel with them, travel around the country, do activities, split the cost of rentals, things like that. So yeah, a really, really good option. Of course, they are going to be on the cheaper side, and that means that you might be able to travel for a longer period of time. Of course, if you are paying, you know, a few dollars, whatever it might be, then don't expect 5-star service. I think traveling is about having an open mind and kind of adapting to your environment. Saying that, I've never actually had a bad experience in a hostel in Sri Lanka. There are, of course, a lot of hotel options, and there are even some really nice boutique style villas that offer luxury and serenity. I think it depends what you're going to Sri Lanka for. I know that people go for their honeymoon, and so their budget is going to be a little bit different to someone on their gap year. One thing that you can experience in hotels is amazing service. Throughout my travels across the entire country, I have always in a hotel, you get really, really good, friendly service. My favourite option would be homestays. This is where a family or local person has set up their home for guests. Particularly in my first visit here, I was staying in homestays, and I think that is going to be really a good insight into the country and to the people, because you actually get to stay with the people, and I think it offers a really beautiful experience. Another great thing about this is that you can try local home-cooked cuisine, and you know, some people will even offer you cooking classes. How would you know when it's ready to eat?
This one?
And it falls apart. Oh, okay. Oh, I like it. It's very creamy. Spending time with people in this way is an amazing way to get close to the culture, and I'm very passionate about this because travel for me is about expanding your experience as a human, and an amazing way to do that is literally just talking to people, connecting with them, learning about them, and just being curious. So it's a really good thing about staying in homestays because you get all of that, and on top of that, people are very, very friendly. The kindness of the Sri Lankan people will shine, and you'll see that very clearly when you stay in homestays. And you know, people are very helpful. If you need train or bus times, they're going to be happy to help you, and you'll also get recommendations for places in the local area, so might not be places that a lot of tourists are going to. To book all of these, you know, whether that be homestays, hotels or hostels, I use things like booking.com, Airbnb, Agoda and Hostelworld. We are now on to the topic of transport, and you have a few different options to get around the country. The most affordable is going to be bus and train. Oh, there it is, famous bus. Now, these are pretty straightforward and easy to use. I would say that, well, the buses in Sri Lanka can be a little bit crazy. People who travel there seem to have contrasting opinions on whether they like them or not. Personally, I enjoy them. I've never had a problem with them. You have to get on and off them pretty quickly, and they do travel fast. There's lights and stuff like that on the bus, but for me, like I said, it's a fun experience. And yeah, my number one tip for if you want to use public buses, local buses, are going to be asking local people. Always, always, always ask local people, and they will be your best guide on how to use them when they come. And people, I've had so many experiences where people have genuinely just helped me so much in these situations. So yeah, people of Sri Lanka, and this is something that will stand out on your trip, is the friendliness. People are so friendly, you know, and many people speak good English. So yeah, I think, like I said, if you want to use the buses, always ask the people. You have the option in Sri Lanka of 2 bus options, so if you kind of want more comfort and things like that, you can take a highway bus. This is usually going to be for longer distances, and yeah, it's AC bus, more comfort. If you have suitcases and things, they can go underneath the bus, and it's a very simple process. Now, if you want public buses, say if you're going a shorter distance, the only thing with this option is if you have a lot of luggage, it's going to be a little more difficult. So if you want to travel this way, I would suggest to travel light. So a backpack, you take that on, it can go in the front of the bus, and yeah, you can get around very easily. My number 1 tip, or my number 2 tip would be to carry light change. So, you know, smaller notes, because the conductors on the bus, they don't always carry enough change. So if you have 5,000 rupees, they're not going to have the change to give you. Now, you do of course have the option of trains, very scenic way to see the country. And if you're traveling on a less popular route, say just between town to town, then you can pretty much just show up on the day and get your ticket there and then. If you do that, it is going to mean that you have an unreserved ticket, and that basically means that you don't have a guaranteed seat. Now, if you're going for a popular train ride, like the Kandy Twala train, something like that, then you can book on the official website or through a third party like One2Go Asia. And doing that means that you get a guaranteed reserved ticket. If you're just traveling, between cities, like I said, then you're going to have two options on most trains, and that's second and third class. Second class, a little bit more expensive, but you have more comfort. So if you decide to go for the public transport option, two things to keep in mind. The first is when you get off the bus or train, most of the time you'll be able to find a local tuk-tuk or taxi driver, and they can take you then to your accommodation. Second thing is Poya days. So in Sri Lanka, they celebrate the full moon every single month, and it is a national holiday. So of course, public transport will get busy. I would avoid traveling the day or night before. Another option that you do have if you don't want to go down the public transport route is a private driver. And so it'll be quicker, more comfortable. It is going to be more expensive though. But it does mean that you can, kind of plan your route with them and go through every different place, and you have a familiar face. And so, yeah, that's a nice option. Of course, it depends on your budget. I will leave the number of some drivers down below, and then you can message them on WhatsApp. If they can help you out, then I'm sure they will. Now, a very popular option is to rent a tuk-tuk or a motorbike. And basically that means you can travel throughout the entire country and stop off at some places that public transport will not be going to. So of course you have a lot of freedom. Personally, this is one of my favourite ways to travel around. Like I said, you just have so much freedom to explore. And obviously if you're with friends and you want to hire a tuk-tuk, say if there's 2 or 3 of you, you can split the cost of that. When it comes to using local tuk-tuks, PickMe and Uber is not available in every city or town. What this means is you can just go up to a local driver, ask if they can take you to where you want to go, and I would suggest before you ever get in the tuk-tuk, agree on a price. That's going to make sure things are clear between the both of you. And there is a small percent of people looking to scam or exploit visitors. In my experience, from speaking to people, it seems that mostly happens in Colombo. So someone maybe will come over to you and say, hey, I'm not working today, I can show you around the town. They have some sort of, pact with the driver, and they will end up asking you for a lot of money. So that is something to be aware of. And yeah, like I said, it doesn't happen all the time, but just keep it in mind. I'm going to run over some things that are probably going to apply for anywhere that you visit. Like don't litter or mistreat the locals. And when I say that, it does mean animals too. Please, please, please educate yourselves on activities before you get involved with them. I know that something might seem like a really cool Instagram picture, but when we travel without ethics, there are consequences. So a big example of this is going to be riding elephants. And when we do that, it does crush their spine and can damage their lives. So yeah, if there's no demand for it, then it stops. And as travellers, as people visiting a country, we all contribute towards that. Another one is respecting the culture, country and religion. So Sri Lanka is very diverse, and to show respect, when you enter a temple, all you have to do is remove your shoes and wear appropriate clothing. That means having your knees and shoulders covered. And the other thing to keep in mind is if you visit a Buddhist temple, just refrain from ever having a photo with your back against Lord Buddha. Locals will always be happy to share their point of view and talk about their country. And being curious is one of the best ways that you can connect with people. Another really special way is learning some local language.
Oh my goodness.
In Sri Lanka, there are 3 main languages. So English, Sinhala and Tamil. So the majority of the country is Buddhist Sinhalese, and they will speak Sinhala. And then you also have Tamil people. So they mostly live in the north and east regions, and mostly they are Hindu and speak Tamil. But throughout all my travels, whatever part of the country I was in, I met so many people that I could communicate with in English. And that meant that I was able to speak to them and ask them, like, how do I say this? How do I pronounce that? And when a local person hears you, like a visitor, speaking their language, it makes them so happy. And I really feel like it is one of the best ways that you can get around and connect with local people. Sri Lanka has been through many hardships, a tsunami, an economic crisis and a civil war. And the people continue to smile. When it comes to the topic of tipping and haggling, I suggest to act with kindness. Of course, it depends on your own financial situation, but if you appreciate someone's service, then a tip will be appreciated. In Sri Lanka, it's not mandatory, but it does help. When it comes to clothing, I would suggest cotton or linen, as these are going to be light and breathable for that sunshine. However, it is a tropical country, and that does mean the showers can get heavy, and so I would suggest to bring, an umbrella or a rainproof jacket. If you are planning to visit the middle of the country, so Ella, Nuarelia, the climate there does get cooler, so something warm would also be recommended. And if you fancy going for some hiking, treks, long walks through the jungle, then leech socks would also be a good shout. I would also recommend getting some citronella oil or incense sticks, and both of these can be found in the big supermarkets. While we're on that topic, the two big chains are going to be Kiehl's and Cargill's. These can be found throughout the entire country. As for healthcare, I used both the public and private sectors, and I had my rabies vaccine, B12 shots, and even blood work. They were both affordable and overall a good experience. If you would prefer to go down the natural medicine route, then it's also going to be a really good place for you to get treatments, because there are many Ayurvedic hospitals and doctors. Now, my final tip for this section would be to join a WhatsApp backpacking group chat. So I joined this when I first went to Sri Lanka, and it was very, very helpful. If you are backpacking around the country or traveling around, then you can basically meet or speak to other travelers and just kind of communicate with each other. And I'll leave the link for that will be in the description below. When I first moved to Sri Lanka, I was very strict on a vegan and gluten-free diet. And I found that there are so many options for both of these. So there are so many vegetarian restaurants around the country, and the food is usually vegan just by nature, and that is because of the coconut milk base. There are also many alternatives to wheat flour, such as gram, undu, and rice flour. These are used in many different meals and snacks. Now, when I spoke to different travelers, it seemed that the food of Sri Lanka is a highlight of their trip, and I definitely see why, because it is very, very tasty. For people visiting, the only problem might be that, local food is hot in spice. And so if you go to a local place, if you don't like spicy food, that might be a problem for you. However, with the rise of tourism, Sri Lanka has kind of adopted, and there are many Western non-spicy options. If you go to a local place, Sri Lankan people are very accommodating, and they're going to want to give you a good experience, so just let them know of your preferences and they will do what they can to help you out. Now, even though I have talked about, vegan and vegetarian food, meat and fish is also available across the whole country, so you will not have a problem if they are your preferences. Now, some things I would recommend to try are apa, wade, ulundu wade, and thosai. My favourite, my go-to, is going to be a vegetable rice and curry. Sri Lankans, there's so many vegetables, and locals know how to cook them to perfection, and it's just a really good experience. And if you're looking for something sweet, I would recommend to get your hands on some taluguli and kalu dodol. Definitely try them. And Sri Lanka is also abundant in so many fruits, and that is definitely one of my favourite things about the country. Just especially coming from the UK, when you go there and you bite into, a pineapple, for example, your mouth is just going to explode with flavour. And you will also see the famous orange king coconut. So if it's hot or you just want to cool down, I would recommend to try one of them. So if you do have any allergies or food restrictions, I don't think Sri Lanka is going to be a problem for you, because it wasn't a problem for me. I would say that I like to travel with an open mind, and I kind of understand, I can't control everything. But if you have clear communication and let people know of your needs, then you should not have a problem. I would say the only difficulty you might have is if you have celiac disease, just because it's not commonly understood in the country. And if you're like me and you kind of avoid meat or fish, then there's only a few things that you really need to keep an eye out for, and that's going to be wade or isu wade, as that has fish in it. The pol sambal sometimes might have fish in it, and luna maris or chili paste. So if you ask about them three things, you shouldn't have a problem. Okay guys, that is going to be it for today's video. All of my recommendations, just general ones. I am going to have some videos coming out about travel routes, so my personal recommendations and some highlights of the country. Do keep an eye out for that. But like I said, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Do enjoy your trip to Sri Lanka, and I will catch you in the next one.